I will go without a murmur, and his footsteps follow stern.
Hello, JPU family. Welcome to another episode of Jamaica Politics Uncovered. How are you guys doing today? I hope that everyone is doing well. I wanted to bring something to your attention. Perfect timing. The Jamaica Observer put out an article this morning titled Pervert Cabbie's Sick Obsession. Report says dad showed no remorse after raping 3 girls, including his daughter. And I'm showing you this with the PNP in the backdrop because here we are with the government rolling out school buses for rural students, which would alleviate financial constraints, which would keep them safe from people who are in the taxi operation business that may harm our children. I think the PNP need to read this article and understand the threat that is out there for our young people. Anyway, the article says, pervert cabbie's sick obsession. Report says dad showed no remorse after raping 3 girls, including his daughter. The probation aftercare officer assigned to prepare the social inquiry and antecedent report of the 44-year-old St. Catherine-based taxi driver who will spend over 3 decades behind bars after pleading guilty to routinely raping and trafficking his underage daughter and stepdaughter over several years, in describing him as, quote, callous and nonchalant, with an, quote, abnormal obsession toward young children, unquote, has recommended ongoing treatment to stem his abnormal desires and sexually perverted nature. Guys, before I go any further, let me just tell you guys my opinion on people like these. It's been long debated among mental health professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, people who deal with personality disorders, whether these people can be reformed. And in my opinion, based on my knowledge of the abnormality and brain chemistry of people who demonstrate this type of behavior, I do not believe they can be helped. I don't think that children should ever be around them until the day they die. I don't care what you do. I don't care what interventions. I don't think they can change. Their brains are just wired that way, you know? So the probation aftercare officer in the document, which is routinely requested by a sentencing judge prior to a judgment being handed down, said the man, who was also slapped with a similar sentence for raping another child, his next-door neighbor, around the same period of time, had violated his position and caused a slew of trauma amongst family and community members. It must be noted that he, for several years, set out to destroy the lives of vulnerable children, leaving a legacy of hurt, mental fatigue, self-harm, mistrust, fear, victimization, and vulnerability. His victims have had to deal with the negative psychological, emotional, and educational impact of his actions, which continued over several years. This is according to the probation aftercare officer. The officer said, based on the lengthy period of time the abuse of the children occurred, it suggests that his actions were done without remorse. Offenders' actions appear callous and nonchalant as he displayed limited capacity in understanding the depth of the trauma that the victims were exposed to. She said, while describing as alarming his failure to accept responsibility for his actions toward the neighbor who he abused, and more so his biological daughter, apparently because of the associated stigma. He has chosen to disassociate himself from the incident, alleging that he could not recall his moments with his daughter and suggested he may have been intoxicated at the time, even though he stated that he does not use alcoholic beverages. This in itself is an indication that he knows his actions were wrong, but displayed scant regard for the trauma he induced to satisfy his abnormal sexual appetite toward her. This is what the officer said. According to court documents, the biological daughter of the convicted man, who said he began molesting when she was 12 years of age, during a telephone interview in the presence of her mother, said that the abuse has left her devastated and has affected her psychologically, emotionally, mentally, and educationally. The child said her performance in school has been affected in a major way by the experience, which has also led to having breakdowns and anxiety. She confided that she has tried to self-harm. Her mother, whose discovery of a disturbing video led to the investigations, for her part, said she almost suffered a nervous breakdown when she saw the contents. She said the situation has left her dismayed and at times unable to cope with what happened to the girls. She said while she and the convicted man became intimate when she was 16, she never suspected that he would have abused his own child. You know what, guys? I'm not going to read any further because this is quite disturbing. The taxi operator pled guilty to all counts and was sentenced to 33 years and 8 months on charges of rape, grievance of assault, encounter with a child under the age of 16, 15 years on trafficking counts, 10 years for causing the involvement of a child. The charges are endless, guys, but he admitted to some of the allegations and he pled guilty. I'm bringing this article to say that when parents are given an option to get their kids to school safely, that is a big thing. I am sure that there are many parents who would not want their kids to go out there in the mornings and afternoons alone, but they have no choice. They have to get to work, the kids have to get to school, and they just have to say a prayer over their kids before going to school. So when the PNP is going to see something as good as safe school buses, cost-effective school buses, and they're fighting against it, they don't know what they have done. They don't know what is going through the minds of parents, mothers, and even some children who may be subjected to these things as we speak. The only people that we should hear complaining, and they wouldn't dare, are the people who are out there preying on our kids. Those are the only people that should, be sad about the kids getting to school safe. And we're only talking about rural Jamaica. What about all the other kids who are out there vulnerable each day? We should be saying, let us cover the entire Jamaica. Of course, we know that that's going to take a little time, but that is what we should hear coming from the PNP. Not all buses, and make we talk about all buses. The statement that Mark Golding made, when I look on his face, when he's saying some all buses, all bus, and he repeats these words, all buses. Guys, you know that Mark Golding has never taken a public bus in a Jamaica? He never took it. And that's why him can so comfortable, using the phrase all buses, or some all bus. You know who has taken all buses? Andrew Holness. From primary school, high school, college. Yeah, Andrew Holness take a whole heap of all bus. You have taken all buses. I have taken all buses in a Jamaica. Because my parents didn't drive me back and forth to school, I took some all buses. Yes. So Andrew Holness could have never come out and said these things. Because we, the average people growing up in Jamaica, we understand the value of having transportation, whether old or new. We understand. We appreciate. Mark Golding is out of touch. The PNP is out of touch. The Jamaica Labour Party must put emphasis on this. They're completely out of touch. Even though some of them like Dayton Campbell, we used to on stage attack. Him wouldn't come out and say old bus, because him know. Only notice say the rest of PNP MPs them now come out, come use that phrase there, old boss or old boss. They not do it. Because they've been on many old buses in their days. So they could never. Only a man like Mark Golding could have come out and repeatedly all bus, condescending, all buses. Yes, and smile as he's saying this. Because he's never had to worry or be concerned about riding public transport system. Yeah, that's the reality. You know, guys, when we talk about birth certificate and asking, Mark Golding where he was born and blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't matter to me if Mark Golding has a birth paper, Jamaican birth paper. Our Jamaicanness is not just about having a birth paper. It's a lot more than that. Do you share our mannerisms, our etiquette, just how we were raised? Jamaicans are some very clean people, No matter how you say we're poor and clean. And we say cleanliness is next to godliness. And we might be poor in the pockets, but we are rich in the spirit and in the heart. So we not go to road and put our hands so far down in our clothes. We not do that. Because we have to shake people's hand. We remember the woman from over the constituency where Damien around the PNP woman said she not shake a Prime Minister hand. Tell her to come shake her leader hand now. Anyway, this is Jamaica Politics Uncovered. Make sure you subscribe, guys. Keep it locked here. I will catch you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.